Forget being a Cyclone state. We've got bigger fish to fry. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cyclone Nation. Iowa State is now in the top 10 nationwide in the three most popular college sports with a number 9 rank in football and 8th and 5th in the preseason AP polls for women's and men's basketball, respectively. Oh, and by the way, Iowa State's the only school in the country to have all three of those. Not impressive enough for you? Throw in a number 4 ranked cross country team and presumably a top 5 ranked wrestling team when those rankings get released. Iowa State isn't just an everything school, we're the everything school. If you think you can argue that there's ever been a better time to be a Cyclone fan, you're just wrong. Iowa State is officially the center of the college sports world as of today, Friday, October 18th. I'm Matt Menson, and welcome to the Cornfield Sports Pod.
I can't think of a better time than right now. It's our senior year. I can't think of a better time. For this to be happening.
Oh,
Like
for,
top
for
10, top 10 in all of those.
forget your academic year. That's
Oh yeah.
irrelevant. It's athletics time right now.
Yeah,
It
seriously.
is it is athletics time because we're on top of the world.
Okay, at first, whenever I was picking a school, I pushed athletics to the side. I don't know why I did that, but I made a good decision regardless.
I mean, I decided to come here because it was cheap, and I
Yeah.
grew up here.
Yeah.
That was about it. Um,
hmm
but great time to be an Iowa State fan. Um, Great time to be a Western Cycloneer, and harder time to be an Eastern Cycloneer. Because we just knocked out a nice solid dub at JT2, or as those Easterners call it, Millen Puskar Stadium. 6-0 for the first time since 1938, 3-0 in conference play. I'm liking it.
Yeah. That that game had trap written all over it for me. I was expecting a loss from our end. I wasn't going to be mad if we dropped that game, but so glad we came out on top too.
Yeah, well, remember, I had that game chalked as a loss at the beginning of the season, and I actually changed my prediction um, as the season has progressed. Last week's episode didn't happen, so we didn't get the betting picks on that or anything like that. But Iowa State's in the position that I expected West Virginia to be in at this time of year, so that's kind of an interesting twist of fate.
Yeah, same with me with Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma State's been very.
Yes, where West Virginia and Oklahoma State are where I expected them to be is where Iowa State and BYU are right now.
Yeah.
So wrong Great Plains team and wrong Mountain team, but I guess I at least got one in each category. Does that count for something?
That checks out.
Um, Seventh straight road win for the Cyclones, going back to last year. Uh, Liberty Bowl doesn't count. Obviously, that's supposed to be a neutral game, and the Liberty Bowl itself just decides they're going to invite the local boys. So they don't count. Um, rigging the system over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with you. The environment did still have trap game written on it. ISU coming off that excitement from the whiteout game. You would think something like that might play a little bit of a factor, party a little bit too hard afterwards type of thing. Granted, we only beat Baylor, but that was one thing that was worth worrying about for a little bit. And naturally, a little bit of concern for the fans who knew what had happened the last time Iowa State was 5-0. Some of whom, the old timers actually lived through that, and we don't want to remind them. So we're just not going to speak of what happened the remainder of that season. The another factor here, obviously, primetime game. The Mountaineers fans, they had all day to get drunk and rowdy for that coal rush game. Side note, calling it a coal rush is a really cool way for an Appalachia team to rebrand a blackout game. You know, to kind of make it part of your heritage, part of your culture, type of thing. That was cool. I like that.
Nah, I agree with that too.
Totally own it.
That's a great way to market a blackout.
Yeah, really make it your thing. Because otherwise the team out east is going to come after you because they allegedly own the color black. At least that's what their, rage baiters on Twitter say.
Now, don't make your bus black either, or they'll probably send you a cease and desist.
I'm not sure that School of Law is good enough to figure out what a cease and desist is. Darn it! You got me. I'm not sure that there's. I'm not sure. It was in the middle of roasting them too. I'm not sure that their School of Law though is intelligent enough to figure out what a cease and desist is, and they might have just been sending hate mail. If they could figure out what the actual mail is, which is why they resort to Twitter and Twitter alone.
Looking at you, Hawkeye Enjoyer.
Yeah. We're talking.
I said it too.
Yeah. That's all one word though. That's a handle. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't hit
handle.
that. I can't hit that. Crap. Now I'm down 1-0. Anyways. Anthony Becht recognized at his alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
So he walked out of there with 2 dubs because he gets a little plaque and watches his son get a win.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that he did go for West Virginia back in the day.
Yeah, he was a tight end there. Yeah, and then naturally, West Virginia made the mistake of overlooking the next generation of Bechts, and Rocco decides to, come to Iowa State and make him pay because Rocco's good. It's Rocktober. So he's really good. First ISU touchdown of the game. Dart to Jalen Knoll that Knoll then housed. 60 yards. It was like the only explosive play of the game, but, it was great.
It went upward. It went upward from there. I was like glad to be on the board at the time too. It was like when I first saw I first saw the score, I was like this is a trap game, but glad to be proven wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, Rocco played well. 18 for 26, 265 pass yards. That's better than 10 yards per drop back, which can't complain about. 81 QBR is a great figure. No interceptions. No turnovers, actually, from the entire team as a whole. Played good, secure football. Rocco was the most accurate from the pocket we've seen from him all year. We weren't seeing throws that were behind or overthrown. I called him out after the Arkansas State game for some of those. I was a little bit worried after we played the team out east with some of those. Not a concern after the last game here against West Virginia. And it also puts Iowa State in the position of now, 3rd and long is not so reliable of a position for other teams' defenses to be in, which is a real advantage for Iowa State because it actually gives us the ability to leverage the draw in unusual situations. Um, 3rd and 10, you run into that kind of a situation. Um, Opposing defenses have to give a lot more respect to Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins than they really want to. Um, they are having to commit more stuff to pass coverage. So maybe you get Jackson to bust loose on a delayed handoff. Everybody's expecting pass. It looks like a pass. Turns out it's a run. Linebackers are sitting deep. Better yet, if they're playing man to man and they're not even paying attention to what's going on in the pocket. That's one of those situations where you could really see Jackson or, maybe Sama turns his season around and can break one loose in one of those situations too. Although, I'm not going to say Sama is a defender magnet. More like defenders are a Sama magnet. Ever since that long run at Houston, and the only reason he was able to really break loose for it was because Hufford just kind of picked him up out of the pile and said, "No, go that way." Yeah, that was quite the highlight that showed Sama's field vision is not particularly great.
Yeah, I was hoping to see a little more out of Abu Sama this season after like the hype from K-State last year, especially.
Agreed.
But
at the same time,
I'm not.
At the same time, I'm not disappointed in what Hansen and Jackson have been doing either.
No, exactly. It's like we've still got plenty of games to go. We still got plenty of game time to go.
Speaking of Hansen, see you've got in your notes here. You were saying it's a breakout game for Hansen.
I'll say it's a breakout game, and I'm standing by it.
Justify this one for me.
Justify this one, okay? So you're kind of saying he's a little lackluster with like 96 yards. Obviously, what did he do with those 96 yards? 3 touchdowns. Granted, I know
and
we're just starting.
His longest run was 14 yards. Those 3 touchdowns came because the ball was given to him and not Jackson in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. I know we're just starting to see him perform like a lot more this year, obviously, but literally everyone hyped him up this week because what's this game without his performance?
I think those touchdown plays that you give the ball to Hansen, I think you can give the ball to Jackson too, and get the touchdowns. I don't think there's any special credit that goes to Hansen in this particular instance. I think he happens to be the beneficiary of when Mauser decided to call those plays.
Yeah, I do agree that the ball could have been given to someone else in certain situations, but we'll obviously never know what would go on during those plays if that were to ever happen.
I think the best way to make an assessment of a breakout game has to be explosive plays. If you're breaking loose
like Jalen Knoll like earlier.
Well, that he only had one explosive play though.
Yeah, but we're talking about he needs more.
Right. If you have multiple explosive plays in a game or something like that, if you're just absolutely racking up a ton of stats, ton of yards, and not just, getting the touchdowns on short stuff where it's just because you're getting the ball at that end of the field as opposed to it being a 3-yard gain on your own 40-yard line, the same play loses its luster depending on where it is on the field. A breakout game, those plays are going to have the same luster regardless of where they are on the field because they're going to have those kind of impact even if they don't go to the house. So yeah, he was efficient in the red zone, sure. But the credit for those 3 touchdowns needs to go to Mauser, not Hansen. Team as a whole, though, could have performed better in the run game against a West Virginia team that just isn't fighting for the same things as we thought they would be. We only had, 126 rush yards in the game or something like that. It wasn't particularly outstanding when you're running a running back committee like we are. I mean, it's not terrible, but you can't call it a breakout game if you're not even clearing 130 rush yards as a team. But yeah, like I was talking about before, we're in the position that I thought West Virginia would be, and West Virginia kind of performed in this game how at the beginning of the season I thought we would perform. So maybe don't take a look at that earlier episode where we did our Big 12 preview.
Well, we might as well just delete it. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, if there was anything we knew about the Big 12 going into this season, is that we were going to get a lot of stuff wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because ain't nobody knew what was going to go on. If I would have told you that BYU was going to be entering this week undefeated, you probably would have spit your beer out. So
I'm spitting my beer out looking at this team.
That's yeah. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in the conference right now. Oklahoma State is near the bottom. Colorado is actually playing moderately well.
And Utah ran their mouths, and look what that got them.
Yeah, the we're gonna run this conference team ran into yet another Cam Rising injury, and well, that's played out about how anybody expected. UCF started playing teams that are actually competent on defense, and now their run game doesn't look so hot, and that's something that we need to be getting into here real briefly. But there's one other thing here too. 6-0. That means another thing, Blake.
We're not only going bowling. We're going bowling before Ohio State. That makes me
and
spit my beer
Georgia,
out.
and Bama, and Clemson, and LSU, and Notre Dame, and Ole Miss, and Michigan, and any other team you want to consider a college football power that isn't currently undefeated.
Matt, how did we get here?
We got here by winning games and having 5-star culture, and also having an insanely sick bridge.
I'll take the bridge part.
But at the same time, undefeated is kind of the key word right now. We got bigger fish to fry than being bowl eligible. We should be looking at first 10-win season in program history. It's about time we knock that off the list. How about a Big 12 championship? We haven't even been to the game since we played Oklahoma in, was it 2020?
Yep.
And now that Texas and Oklahoma are gone, there's a power vacuum in the Big 12 that it looks like Iowa State is competing to fill. In a year when, we thought it was going to be Oklahoma State, Utah,
West Virginia.
K-State. West Virginia was more of me being an outlier picker than the popular trend. But it was K-State, Oklahoma State, Utah. Who's going to be that player that fills the power vacuum? And it looks like Iowa State and BYU and Texas Tech are making the biggest cases that they could be the teams to fill that power vacuum. And of course, beyond the Big 12 championship, if you win that game, that's an automatic seed in the college football playoff. And if you lose, you still could be in. So yeah, we're at 6 wins right now. We're going bowling. Sure, who cares? We've got other targets in mind.
Granted, if we do win the Big 12 championship, that does give us that first round bye in the college football playoff, does it not?
Yes. But before we start worrying too much about that, and
we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
We do have those fish to fry, but before we focus too horribly much on that, let's focus on UCF. It's our chance to go 7-0 for the first time since 1938, which is the last time we went 6-0. Football was a lot different back then. That was the era of the Leatherheads. So it's essentially a completely different sport now. We've never been 4-0 in conference play. So it's a chance for Iowa State to, make some history here and now. It's not the 10-win season game yet, but let's keep making some history here. Blake, I know you wanted to talk about the unis for this game.
Yeah, so this is the first game that we're debuting the black unis, like the new and improved 2024. Well, I don't think you would say new and improved.
No, I wouldn't.
No, I've
Um,
got I've got one of the old jerseys like in my wardrobe.
yeah, it's because the old ones are better.
I
But
I to I totally agree.
the the first version of the old ones for the black, because there was the version with the chrome and there was the version
Yes.
without. The version without came second. The version with came first, and the version with was better. They never should have steered away from them. The
So I have the version without it. So that was last year's jersey.
right,
But
the
but yeah.
original version with the chrome, which debuted about 7 years ago now, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was 2018. They had chrome in that trim that gave them that distinct, just that something extra, compared to that stark black and white. But I distinctly remember we wore them, we debuted them against the Eastern Cycloneers before they were the Cycloneers. It was that Will Greer team. They were like what, seventh, eighth, 10th in the country, something like that. They were a top 10 team. But we debuted them against that West Virginia team at Jack Trice Stadium, and we beat them. Man, the Eastern Cycloneers are getting a rough day on today's show. But yeah, those jerseys, they looked amazing with the chrome trim. And to be honest, I think without the chrome, the black and white is kind of lifeless.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's
It's like
boring.
yeah, I for once I think the red jerseys this year like just look so much better. It's like I
I
used
think
to
the
be
old
all over
reds
the
look
blacks.
better. I think the old reds look better too, if nothing else, just for the lightning bolt on the sleeve.
Yeah.
Um, the white numbering is better. The white numbering is a lot easier to read. Um, but the lightning bolt on the shoulder was just irreplaceable, and the five stripe thing that they're doing now, that's just Cleveland Brownsy. Um, why are we modeling anything after the Cleveland Browns? Let's not do that.
Their image is just a helmet.
Well, that their image is just a helmet. Their image is crime. The only college qualified to be modeling anything after the Cleveland Browns has nothing to do with what's going on off the field. But you could make a case that off the field, Georgia could model their design after the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, yep.
Anyways,
Anyways.
let's go back to this UCF game here. Um, there's been a little bit of talk about this game being kind of an unstoppable force versus a movable object type game. Give me a break. No, it's not. It's just a movable object. Because people want to talk about this UCF offense, this UCF rushing attack, and yeah, they're entering the game with the top total offense in the Big 12 at 474 yards a game. And then Iowa State's only allowing 285 yards per game. Now go back and break those yards per game down for UCF by conference and non-conference. Look at who all those yards came against. They stat padded the heck out of themselves against FCS and bottom of the barrel G5 teams. Their offense is not even remotely as good as it looks on paper. So yeah, they might claim the league's top rushing attack between R.J. Harvey, who is their main workhorse in the backfield, and Miles Montgomery and Penny Boone. And they're all averaging over 6 yards a carry, but that's easy to do when you racked up a bunch of 20-yarders against, Mary Tyler Moore State or whoever in the first 2-3 weeks of the season. Those numbers are still, those games are still boosting your numbers up pretty significantly, and you haven't really done anything noteworthy since conference play began. Meanwhile, Iowa State's pass defense is claiming the best mark in the Big 12. The Cyclone secondary has been limiting defenses to less than 150 pass yards per game and been absolutely dominating turnover margins by intercepting the ball. Oh, yeah, and by the way, our scoring after turnover margin, you want to know how we're winning in that margin? Points after turnovers?
Where?
We're winning that margin 55-3. Yeah, Iowa State scores after turnovers. We don't turn the ball over much, and when we do, we stop you. You get nothing out of it. So good luck. You got a quarterback problem at UCF. Your running game is a one-dimensional paper tiger. You can't pass the ball. You've got absolutely no passing game right now. You can't figure out who your quarterback even is. KJ Jefferson was supposed to be your solution, and he obviously was not. What you do have is Ja'Cory Brown now, who threw 13 for 20 against Cincinnati, whose defense is nothing to write home about. And Brown opted to run the ball pretty much as often as he completed or more often than he completed a pass. He ran the ball 16 times, if I'm not mistaken. Only had 13 completed passes. And don't ask UCF about EJ Colson's total pass yards. Spoiler alert, it's a negative number. So turns out DJU might actually have competition for the worst quarterback in the state of Florida. And KJ Jefferson's biggest accomplishment might actually be ruining Florida fans' 2025 season by giving Billy Napier a win he shouldn't have gotten in order to keep him from getting fired.
Matt, we're going to win the game.
We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game, and this entire state of Florida, with the exception of Miami fans. I don't really have a good roast for you guys right now, but pretty much everybody else in that state's gotten absolutely cooked. So you guys are the losers of this show. But let's get to bets. The line, according to FanDuel here, as of today, Iowa State minus 13.5. The over-under is 49.5. Blake, what do you got?
I've got Iowa State covering with 34-17 being the final score.
All right, and then that would be the over hitting as well.
Yes.
If I'm doing my math correct, yeah, that'd be a 51-point total. So you got the over just barely hitting.
Yeah. I was thinking the over just barely. I was kind of in between. It's is the over gonna hit? Is it not? It was gonna be a close call for me.
Our point totals were actually the same. I also have the over hitting, over 49.5 with 51 total points being scored. However, I do think that the margin of victory is going to be even wider. I have ISU covering minus 13.5. I've got a final score of ISU 38, UCF 13. Like I said before, UCF is a one-dimensional paper tiger. They're not good. And 71% of the money going for ISU to cover in this game is pretty darn hard to ignore. UCF is going to be walking into Jack Trice Stadium for the first time. They're not used to this kind of an environment. They haven't had to deal with this before. Being the second biggest stadium in the Big 12, they got to march in. It's going to be a blackout game, prime time. Iowa State fans will have had all day to get drunk and rowdy. They don't know what they're in for. And the Iowa State Cyclones are also 5-1 against the spread compared to UCF's 3-3. Iowa State's been overperforming against everybody, which is a good place to be in right now if you want to bet that spread. And additionally, the Cyclones getting a lead early, and when I say early, I mean pretty much earlier than 10 minutes in the second quarter because that's the way we've decided to play football this year. That lends itself to speeding the game up. And as soon as you start forcing UCF to pass, game over. Because they're going to have to pass with a terrible pass game right into the best secondary in the Big 12. So a few fast paced, few bad fast paced plays from UCF. What's it going to do? It's going to turn into interceptions. It's going to turn into more drives for the Cyclones. It's going to turn into lots of scoring opportunities. Iowa State's going to have a chance to put up a lot of points in this game. I think 31 points might be the absolute floor for the Cyclones in this game. So yeah, give me Iowa State 38, UCF 13. We're going to blow the doors off of them.
It's pretty bold. It's like we definitely got a lot going in this game.
Let's I guess get to the one program at Iowa State right now that doesn't seem to have everything going for it.
Yeah, the depression that is Iowa State volleyball.
Our only win right now, recently, is the fact that they finally fixed the Terraflex in Hilton Coliseum. The Big 12 logo's not in the wrong spot now.
Yay, we'll take that.
We got that. But the injury bug hit the team like a Mack train. Or I did not just say Mack train. Mack truck. Or freight train. Take your pick. I said one of those two.
I'm now checking to see if a Mack train exists.
All right. Well, while you do that, I'll give the update on the injuries for volleyball. The top of that news: Nayeli Gonzalez is officially out for the season with that knee injury. She released a statement over social media. This is what it said. Quote, I recently sustained an injury that has temporarily taken me out of the game I love. I wasn't expecting my season to end like this, but I'm very grateful for all the people I have around me that are helping me through all of this. I want to thank everyone, especially my family, staff, and teammates, for the overwhelming support I've received during this challenging time. Although I'm sidelined right now, I'm committed to working hard during this healing process. I look forward to returning stronger and more determined than ever, end quote. Yeah, not
definitely a big hit, like especially losing Big 12 Freshman of the Year.
Well, of course it's a Big 12 Freshman of the Year. I mean, best hitter on the team. Had she been healthy the full season, you're probably talking about an All-American. Yeah, that's it's a toll to lose someone who's arguably the best player in your team. I'm not going to go ahead and say that definitively, but you can certainly make an argument that she is the best player on the team, and not having her hurts. Additionally, we got a couple other players that are, top of up there toward the top of the ladder that are also succumbed to the injury or illness bug. Maya Duckworth hasn't played since October 5th when they made that trip to Kansas State. There has not been an official update from the team. Wednesday, she was wearing street clothes and on the bench for the game against BYU. No visible signs of any injury. I don't know what actually is going on. I just have no clue. With Maya's situation. Hopefully she's back soon, because we need her pretty badly right now. And then finally, Pam McCune has also not played since that K-State trip. She was wearing a mask on the sidelines. So, again, no official update from the team, but that situation appears to be an illness. The mask would explain that. So I'd like to be optimistic and think Pam might be back in the lineup tonight against Texas Tech, but we really don't have any way of knowing until we get there. Unless the team decides to send out an update, which it'd be getting kind of late for that now.
Yeah, a little bit late. But uh, these injuries and obviously illnesses have led the coaching staff to resort to recruiting from the club volleyball team. So so all of us on the sidelines, like we were all seeing like, who is that? It's like there's somebody else wearing number 20. Who is that? So as a journalist, I go asking people around. It is Jordan Letter from the club volleyball team. She's a walk-on now. Uh, both men's and women's volleyball clubs were there to show supports, like in the student section.
A lot of the men's volleyball club is still there just anyway, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I saw a few of their
They
jerseys
were
on
they
too
were
during
they
the
were
game.
pretty loud and rowdy though for when Jordan was announced.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I guess
I was there.
as a reserve.
Mhm.
So they were definitely there to support her. They were also there to support the rest of the team, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. How could you
we
not?
love having support for everyone on the team.
Yep. Here's my message to high school athletes. Stay involved. Please just stay involved. If you are out for a sport, like let's say any sports, like if you're good at basketball, if you're good at football, volleyball, find some way to stay involved, even if that's within like a club sport or like intramurals. You might get recruited like onto a club volleyball team, just as Jordan did, and look where that got her. Is like it got her a position in a D1 volleyball team, and it's not just D1. It's literally like within any club sports in like D1, D2, D3, like you name it.
Yeah.
I'm personally like I enjoyed band in high school. I wasn't really into marching band, so obviously like I still support the marching band, but I've found ways to like stay involved. Like currently my symphonic band ensembles are required, but it's literally as if they're not. It's like I would have done band like that regardless, and I found the time to do that too. But literally just stay involved, like, and you might see opportunities arise like Jordan's did, literally.
Yeah. Or chase other endeavors. That can be fun too. Um,
You know what? Just work all the time. Just work, and make that money pay for rent.
or start an independent sports podcast. Just don't challenge ours.
Yeah, don't challenge ours.
Promote ours. Uh,
Don't challenge us because Matt Mensa will go after you.
yeah, boost ours up instead. That's what we like. We like supporters of the Cornfield Sports Pod. But that takes us back to volleyball. UCF game was supposed to happen last week. Instead, Hurricane Milton happened, and the game was canceled. Neither team claims a win. It's not a forfeit. Moving on. Loss versus BYU. We didn't get obliterated as badly as I thought we were going to, considering the injury situation.
And of course, the BYU is 24 in the country.
With potential to improve with a couple more conference wins here. We won the second set. That was better than I expected. To be honest, I fully expected to get swept in this game.
Yeah, same here, honestly. But the matchup definitely great. Like for the first two sets, it's like, hey, like are we doing okay? It's like this is better than I thought. It's like I feel like our healthy players like we're filling in for our injured list just fine.
They did and they didn't. I would chalk a lot more of it up to Christie Johnson Lynch reshaping the rotation for this game. So BYU's film that they had been studying was not going to be as helpful as it otherwise would have been, because Christie opted for a 6-2 rotation instead of the 5-1 that she typically opts for, and that we've been using throughout the season. And the end result of that is seeing RVG and Faith Durandi play a lot more points, including a lot of time in the front row, which we just generally don't see from them. as they filled the full-time hitter spots in their rotation. And Faith was sometimes substituted for in the back row by Paula Kreschlak, which that's kind of a bizarre situation. Normally, under the 5-1 rotation, Faith is filling in for one of our hitters in the back row because she's got solid defense and a good back row attack. So that was just kind of a more interesting approach, and certainly one that we're not used to seeing. Different role for Faith to be playing for sure. Morgan Brandt and Lily Wachholtz made one setter hitter pair. Emily Bobbitt and Kirsten Schmidt made the other setter hitter pair. And then Amiri Hendricks Walker and Tierney Jackson played as the middle blockers with Brooke Stone Street as libero. That was the rotation essentially for the entire game. And Morgan and Brooke are the only two players that are in that 6-2 rotation that was used against BYU that were pieces of the last time Iowa State consistently used a 6-2 rotation, which was 2 years ago. Our other setter was Jaden Newsom. Our other middles were primarily Kelsey Perry and Alexis Engelbrecht. And the hitters, our full-time hitters were Eleanor Holthouse and then the currently injured Maya Duckworth. There's been a lot of change since then. And this group haven't played, well, I'm sure they've practiced 6-2 rotation plenty. It hasn't been put to use against live competition, which is a whole different kind of test for them. And I think once BYU was able to figure the rotation out, that enabled them to start running away with the game.
Especially in the fourth set too. But I feel like our third set probably hurt us the most. Because
as far as morale, in terms of team morale, yes.
Yeah, and we came from behind, and eventually got to set points. It's like we were all hyped up for that, but BYU was able to fend it off and take the third set after that. We just lost all momentum after that, and this was another game where we did shoot ourselves in the foot, like full of errors. It's like you've been mentioning errors like for like the past.
I mean, errors have been a problem. You take away your best hitters, and now errors are really going to be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. We had 26 overall in this game. 9 of them were from the fourth set, so you kind of see that how that's morale is like after the third set. Did we both overhear Amiri Hendricks Walker like said she struggled up against blocks too?
I did not hear that.
Okay, so you were probably somewhere else after the game, but I was standing with Chase, and so we kind of overheard that. But BYU did put up 7 blocks. Brielle Camavor, if that's how you say her name, she had our team struggling because she's like 6'5".
Yeah, no, I did not hear Amiri talking to that after the game. I actually went to go talk to Nayeli with the whole injury situation and asking how she was doing, with this being the first major injury that she's really had to deal with. So, but that leads us into tonight, Texas Tech. Texas Tech is not a good volleyball team. They are, in fact, a bad volleyball team.
So, therefore,
we have a chance. I'm telling you, we have a chance. Even with a depleted roster. Tech's only win of any significance at all is a home upset of K-State. Aside from that, pretty much all of the teams that Tech has beat have been like 5-letter acronyms that are schools that if I were to actually find their real names and read them, you wouldn't think they were D1. Tech's volleyball team is bad. The question is how depleted, or how are we going to play being as depleted as we are? How much is that setting us back? But that's kind of the situation with tonight's game. Tech is 2-5 on the road, and 0-3 on the road of Big 12 play. Their offense is nothing to write home about. They don't even hit 200. It's dead last. They're dead last in the league in opponents' digs per set. Other teams have not struggled to defend against them. And then if their offense is bad, their defense is worse. They're dead last in the Big 12 in kills allowed per set at a whopping 13.35. So if there's a game that if there's a team that you got to play against when your roster is depleted, I'll take a Texas Tech team that is just not good, and will struggle to win against probably a high school team. They might struggle against a high school team.
Depending on which high school team. It's like, I don't know what good volleyball teams like you've seen like during high school. I know I haven't.
Meh, that's fair. But then if we look forward another 5 days here, let's not look forward at this one too much because it's going to hurt our eyes. October 23rd at Kansas. They are 15-1 and 6-0 in Big 12 play. And they're looking to be the new dominant force in the Big 12 in the absence of Texas.
This will be a suicide mission, Matt.
Kansas blocks well. They attack well. They don't put their defense in a position where they even have to do a whole lot of work. And, of course, it's going to be broadcast for the whole country to see on FS1. ISU is going to need a miracle. Because otherwise, what this game is going to look like is the dominant force in the Big 12 beating up on the kid in the cast.
Basically what we got going.
That's, yeah.
We love our volleyball squad, but this hurts.
We love them, but it's a rough year. And when we're having this many injury struggles, it's hard to have a positive outlook right now. This is not a team that I think is going to make the NCAA tournament at the end of the season. Not when you're 8-8 and 2-3 in Big 12 play. Let's go back to something a little bit better. Men's and women's basketball, real quick. Rankings were just released by the AP poll preseason. Men's are number 5. Solid. I think they actually deserve to be higher, but it's the beginning of the season. We got time.
Yeah, because the media likes to go on all over Kansas.
That they do. They like the blue blood stuff. We'll beat up on Kansas again. It's only a matter of time. This year we get to do it in Allen Fieldhouse, if I'm not mistaken, and our team is undeniably better.
Yep,
so,
we'll get to do it in both this year.
Did we? I don't think we had them twice this year.
Yes, we got them both this year because students don't actually get to go to the Hilton game because that's a break game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Kansas at home is a break game. That's totally unfortunate. But we'll play.
Everybody also show out. Hilton will still be loud. We'll be just fine.
Yep, it wasn't a problem against Houston last year at home, but Kansas. We will play Kansas again at Allen Fieldhouse. Yep.
And then we also have women's basketball. They start in the AP poll at number 8, about where I would have had And that's pretty much about it for that. I think eight's a pretty fair ranking for our women to start the year.
I mean, they told me today we're sending Emily, Audie, Addie. You can find that on ESPN Plus for men's. For men's basketball, Taman, Keyshawn, Curtis Jones.
Yeah,
You know where to find that.
I guess the only other point that's really worth noting is for women's basketball. It's been kind of enjoyable to watch the team out east fan base whine and moan about a team that made the Final Four the last 2 years not even be in the rankings to start this year because
they lost their homegirl toddler on the team
and their head coach. But yes,
I will say I am excited for Lisa. No, not Lisa Bluter. I'm excited for Jan Jensen. She was a hometown hero in my hometown. So I will say that.
No, traitor. Darn it, I did it again. That's twice.
That'll do it from us for the Cornfield Sports Pod, guys.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You got anything else?
Follow the Cornfield Sports Pod on Twitter, at C Sports Pod. Yeah, Blake, where can they find you at?
They can find me at Blake Attack 1846.
You can find me at SFMattISU, where I'm definitely gonna have to apologize on that account for uttering the Team Out East's name twice on this show. Yeah, tap the follow button on Spotify, plus button on Apple. Don't forget, we are also now available on Amazon Podcast, Castbox, and Good Pods if those are more your style. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble. Tonight, I actually am planning on being a guest on the West Coast Offense pod. That'll be late tonight. Make sure you turn on notifications for our podcast.
This has been Blake Peterson. Good to have you back, Mac.
Make sure you English that sentence correctly.
Good to have you back, Matt.
Oh, it's been
talk today.
It's been one of those days. I'm Matt Menson, and this has been the Cornfield Sports Pod.